Hey everybody, I hope you enjoyed my other videos for 504. In this video, I'm just going to give you my final opinions of the game itself. Now, if you want to learn how to play the game, get a quick overview of what exactly 504 is, or just see some sample gameplay, make sure you check out my other videos for 504 itself. Now, 504 reviewing is going to be pretty unique. It's going to be unusual to review this game because reviewing 504 is pretty much like reviewing a deck of cards, because 504, like a deck of cards, it's a whole bunch of components that can be used to create many, many different games. Now you look at a deck of cards and you have some fantastic games such as poker, and you have some terrible games such as war. So you can't look at 504 and say, hey, one of these games is terrible. Does that make the entire package terrible? No, it doesn't. But just because one or two games are really, really good, does that make the entire package really good? Well, on the other end of the spectrum, no, not really. So it's kind of a unique proposition to review 504 because you're looking at all these different modules that go together to create 504 different games. And it's not really quite 504 games either. See, the thing with 504, and I hope I can impress this upon you with my 3 gameplay videos, and I hope you took the time to watch them, but the idea that I want to get impressed upon you is that even though there are 504, technically 504 different games in the box, they're not all going to be really, what's the best word? They're all not going to be really, really different. Some of the modules that come with this system, now there are 9 different modules for the game system. You look at the Book of Worlds and see all the different modules for the game system, or you just pull out the different rule book. And like I said, there are 9 different modules for the game. The first one is going to be the pick up and deliver mechanic. Your second mechanic is going to be your racing mechanic. Your third mechanic for the game is going to be your privileges, which is going to give you different powers and add different abilities to your different races. 4 is going to be military. 5 is going to be your exploration. 6 is going to be roads. 7 is going to be your module, which is going to allow you to control the majority board. You're going to see much more use for the majority board. Module number 8 is going to be resources and, production, where you're going to go out there on these different tiles and gain different kind of resources. And finally, module number 9 is your shares, which is your stock market, which is probably the biggest departure module out of all of them, the one that causes the most changes to the game. Whereas you have the other end of the spectrum, the modules such as roads, which really doesn't add a lot of different gameplay mechanics. You saw with a roads mechanic, with World 4, 5, 6, roads were, that's pretty much just a throwaway. You're probably not going to build a lot of roads. Now, I'm not trying to say it's the best strategy in the world. Some people may say, hey, roads are the best thing to build. But yeah, it is what it is. I think at 4, 5, 6, roads are pretty much not that exciting. But when you move roads into the first position, you see that roads are really, really mandatory. But the gameplay isn't changing all that much. It's changing a little bit, but not that much. And then when you throw roads in the middle module, again, it's just not that much of a change. So you're going to see some modules that can have a heck of a lot of influence on the game, such as the module exploration. The module exploration is the only way you're ever going to have a module board where you're going to change the board layout every single time you play the game. That only happens in exploration. You have 8 other modules that if you include and you don't use exploration at all, you're going to have a preset map every single time you play the game. And you can see a module like exploration creates a huge influence on how the game of 504 plays. You can see the module military, and I'm using these modules because they were in my sample gameplay video so you can understand the point I'm trying to make here. But you see the module warfare, where I can actually use my warriors, my residents. I can actually go out there and I can attack other locations, attack other settlements. I can build my settlements in those locations. I can start creating havoc for my opponents and their various things that they're trying to accomplish. But that's only going to happen with military. If you pull out that military mechanic, you're not allowed to attack the other players at all. So you can see modules such as exploration, modules such as military can have a huge influence on the game, but modules such as roads, not really that much of an influence on the game. So some of the modules feel more of like a variant on a base game, while some of the other modules seem to have a huge influence on the kind of game you're going to have. So you have all these 9 modules that say they're going to be different, but in reality, not all these modules are going to have the same effect on the gameplay. And some modules, let's be honest, are not going to be all these kind of modules that everybody's going to like every single time they play. Heck, I know that if I ever play World 1, 2, 3 ever again, well, let's just say that I'd never play World 1, 2, 3 ever again unless I was playing with younger kids, because it's a pretty simplistic module. I'm sorry, a very simplistic set of worlds. It's probably not a way I'd ever play the game again. But you do have some good variety with the different amount of modules, the amount of different replay they add, and the different variety they add. But I definitely want to emphasize that you're not looking at 504 different games in this box. It's definitely more than 50, but it's nowhere near 504 different board games in one single box. I'm a very firm believer that every single board game out there has its target audience. You look at games such as Munchkin, games such as Talisman, and you know they have their target audience. You know this for a fact because they're constantly bringing out expansions for both those games, different versions, and people are buying them because there's people who like those games. You take another game, a well-known game such as Nations, which is a game that I personally am not a huge fan of, but you know where it came out of. You know that Nations was created because people enjoyed Through the Ages, but wanted a way for Through the Ages to play faster and add a fifth player. And I'm pretty much, while I wasn't there for the design process, I could pretty much assume that that's probably part of the design process. And that was the target audience for Nations. They wanted to find people who want to play Through the Ages quicker and wanted to have a game that would allow them to play a Through the Ages style game with one more player. And that's where we come to the point I'm trying to make here really quickly with 504. 504 needs to find a target audience, and that target audience is a pretty interesting target audience for the game. In my opinion, and I'm just going to come right out and say it, 504 is not my style of game. I am 100% the type of gamer who needs theme in my games, and 504, no matter what you can say about the game, the brilliant design of the game, the extremely phenomenally how well this game was designed. I mean, you got to admit this game was absolutely brilliant in its design. You have a Frankenstein game of 9 very different modules all thrown together to create all these different games. And while I said that there are definitely not 504 games in this game, there's at least 100 different games on this box, and they all play differently. They all work together extremely well. They all mesh together pretty well. And it's amazing, an amazing design accomplishment that they managed to get all these game mechanics together to form this game that works so fantastically. As a matter of fact, while we're on the topic, whoever wrote the rule book and did the rewriting of the rule book and the Book of Worlds itself needs to have a raise. The guy did a fantastic job to manage to do all the editing for 2 complete rule books, the Book of Worlds and the rule book, and at the end of it only needing a 2-page FAQ. Whoever that is, they did a phenomenal job on the editing for that rule book, but I'm kind of getting off topic here. My point I'm trying to make here is that this game needs to have a target audience, and it really does fall in an interesting quagmire when it's trying to find its target audience. You have players like me, board gamers like me, board gamers who have really large collections. I literally own hundreds of board games, and like I said, I enjoy games with a lot of theme. So you have a game such as 504, which is 9 different modules, but they're all extremely generic modules. There's no character to this game at all. All these modules work together, they're great, but there's no theme in this game. I can take a game that I really love, games such as Clash of Cultures, which in a way is almost Module 4, military, Module 5, exploration, and Module 8, production. You put those all together and you basically, in a way, almost have Clash of Cultures, and it works fantastically. You put 458, World 458, and you can have some good fun with the game. It's mechanically a very sound game. You're going to go out there, you're going to have your barbarian tribes, just like Clash of Cultures. You're going to be attacking other players' cities or settlements, just like Clash of Cultures, and you can be doing various things like that. Or you can drop the production out of the game, and you can add in the privileges, and then you start having maybe a tech tree. So you can see how the game can, in a very generic way, start having the mechanics of some of these more thematic games, but it never pulls you into the thematicness of those actual games that I have. So target audience me, I'm definitely not the target audience for 504. The kind of gamer who has a wall of board games behind me, a wall of board games behind the camera. I literally have hundreds of games. So I'm not really the target audience for 504. So who is the target audience of 504? That's the interesting question, and that's also a really interesting thing, and I think this is exactly where 504 is going to succeed extremely well. See, 504 is a really interesting game because you have 9 different mechanics. They're all different, but these are all mechanics that are kind of foreign to people who are not familiar with board games. And believe it or not, even though the Book of Worlds can look kind of intimidating, the way everything works together in a way you have modules to say, do this, don't do this, do this, don't do that. Again, back to, I think his name is Henning. He's the guy who put the Book of Worlds together. He did a really great job. And if you have somebody, a board gamer, somebody who understands the hobby, somebody who's been in the hobby for a while, somebody who knows how to play these games and understand these mechanics, they can use 504 as an awesome teaching tool to teach non-board gamers all these awesome different mechanics that can go together to create all these awesome board games. They're on the wall behind me and on the other wall in this room. So that's where I think 504 is going to succeed phenomenally. It's going to be the awesome game for the alpha gamers to pull on their non-gamer friends, sit down, show them how to play these games in much more simpler terms and I'm not trying to be mean to the game because it is kind of a generic game, still well designed, but it is simpler, especially if you look at some of the worlds through those sample gameplay videos I put out there. You see that it's pretty much a little bit simpler mechanics. You saw that you're simply just buying your residents, you're sending your residents around, whether they're just buying roads, whether they're going out there to explore, or whether they need to do, and they're just doing that to try to increase their income. They had some encounters with the other players. It's a little bit simpler, it's a little bit easier to teach, and I can get this to the table playing World 458 100 times before I can ever get Clash of Cultures to the table with non-gamers. You also have two other target audiences for 504 where 504 is going to succeed brilliantly, at least in my opinion. 504 is going to be fantastic for all the board gamers who are on a budget, the board gamers who don't have these huge walls behind them with hundreds of games. It's also going to be fantastic for gamers who have seen all these board games, but they're just getting into the hobby. Because when you're just getting into the hobby, if somebody looks at you and says, hey, you want to play a pick up and deliver game? You'll be like, do I roll dice? Or you're going to say, hey, you want to play this game that's about shares, trading, and we're going to try to get all these stocks going? And you're kind of like, okay. For those kind of gamers, 504 is going to be fantastic because you can sit down with those kind of gamers who aren't that familiar with those kind of mechanics, ease them into all these mechanics, starting with World 1, 2, 3, which is a very simplistic game where you're basically having a trolley and you're delivering goods from one location to another. Very simple mechanics, very easy to teach. 4, 5, 6 is another world that's very easy to teach, but it's showing all these fantastic mechanics from all these different Euro games, and it's helping newer players ease into the hobby to teach them about all these fantastic games that can be playing that are going to be more advanced than picking up some dice, rolling around the table, and advancing past Boardwalk. Now, I do have one minor complaint about 504, and this isn't about the gameplay itself, because like I said, I do think this is a really brilliant design. It's not a brilliant design for me, but this is a very brilliant design. I'm not the target audience, and I'm A-okay with the game, but I can still have a lot of fun with this game by pulling out with my friends who are not hardcore gamers, the ones who can't play these more difficult games, these more challenging games, and I can also pull this game out anytime we can't figure out what time of game we want to play, because I can just pull out the 9 module cards wherever they are, shuffle them all up, pull out those cards, and play a random world and just have some fun. And that'll actually work great, especially for players who are willing to invest time into 504, start enjoying 504, and make it more of a tactical game and less of a strategic game, because it's going to be more tactical because nobody's going to know what kind of mechanics you're going into before you start the game. You're just going to throw out your 3 cards, and we're going to say, hey, this is the world we're playing. Let's figure out how to play, and let's have some fun with the game. So in that aspect, the game is going to be fun. But I do have one minor complaint about the game, and I'm only saying this because this is a Stronghold game. Now, I have been in the hobby for years now, and in my mind, Stronghold has been pretty much the poster child for fantastic game components. You look at games such as Confusion, Espionage, and the very long name, I can't remember the entire name of the game. But if you look at the components for the game, you have huge pieces. You have a little dossier board where you can write on your rewritable, erasable boards. You have some fantastic, awesome components in the game. You look at basically any Stronghold game and you see some fantastic, awesome components in the game. When you look at 504, more on the average side of the spectrum. Not exactly what I expect from Stronghold games. Now, I'm not saying there's anything really wrong with the components for the game, except for the Monopoly money. And if you don't believe that this is worse than Monopoly money, this is the money for 504. This is Monopoly money. You can see that Monopoly money is bigger and Monopoly money is even a little bit thicker, which is kind of a disappointment, but it is what it is. You know, if you want to have paper money, go ahead and do it. I know I'm replacing all this paper money with the Monopoly money because it's actually better quality, which is kind of a shocker to me. But if you look at this game, you have a $100 game right here. All these components cost $100. It's what I had to pay for the game. Well, okay, I pre-ordered it, so I spent $80 with shipping. But still, it's a $100 game at the retail level. So you see that this is everything you get for $100 when I can turn around and look at a game such as Caverna, which is a game for $90, and we can see better components in that game. We can see thicker cardboard in Caverna. We can see a larger variety of wooden pieces. As a matter of fact, it's a larger variety of wooden pieces, and you even get more wooden pieces in the box. So you get more in the box for less of a price, and it kind of makes me look at this and say, not quite what I'm used to from Stronghold games. Not complaining, just average. Not the best I've seen from Stronghold. I would have liked to have seen better, but it is what it is. And that's going to be a little bit harder for some gamers to swallow, spending $100 for everything that comes in the box. Not terrible, not great, pretty much middle of the road. The bottom line here, though, is if you're the target audience for 504, 504 is a fantastic purchase. If you're a gamer on a budget, a gamer with a smaller collection, or a gamer just recently getting back into the hobby, or trying to introduce your friends to this wonderful hobby of board gaming, 504 is a fantastic purchase. You have 9 very different modules that all play very differently to create hundreds of potential different board gaming experiences that will help you get into the hobby and enjoy how fantastic this hobby truly is. If you're an alpha gamer, if you're a gamer with a very large collection, or if you're a gamer who just really needs to have theme in your board games, 504 is one of those games that you definitely want to play multiple times before you purchase the game. It's a generic game. It's a simpler game. It's definitely an awesome game to play if you're a family person, though. If you have a family and you want to introduce the younger kids or the younger children into these kind of games, it's absolutely awesome because a lot of these modules can be pretty simple, pretty easy to teach, and if you have one person who understands the mechanics, it's very, very easy to teach this game to other players. So as a family gamer, it's also a fantastic option. But again, if you're the alpha gamer, the gamer with a huge collection, the gamer who needs lots of theme in their game, you probably want to take a second look at 504 before you click that purchase button. I hope you enjoyed this video series for 504. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the YouTube comments down below. You can also feel free to email me at offtheshelfboardgamereviews, that's otsbgr@gmail.com. If you enjoyed this video series, hit that like button, please subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching.